So this is a quick tutorial on how to start your first AutoCAD drawing. You can see here that I have AutoCAD open. Some of the students have had problems launching AutoCAD. If you can't get the regular AutoCAD to launch, then my suggestion is use AutoCAD Electrical. You can search that by going down to the Start button down here, clicking on the Start button, and then typing AutoCAD Electrical, and then following the prompts. You want to engage or you want to register or activate the network license. And I think I've done that for a number of you. So I'm hoping that you can help each other out if I'm not there to get it done. One way or the other, whether it's AutoCAD Electrical or regular AutoCAD, they should both or either should work just fine. So this looks very similar to Autodesk Inventor and Fusion. The way you start your first drawing is essentially you go up to the big A up here and you click on the little down arrow next to the big A. My I'm going to highlight my cursor so you can see this. You go up to the big A and you click on the little down arrow and you go to new and you click new, and it's going to start. It's going to say ACAD ISO DWT here. That's fine. Just click open, and it's going to start a new drawing. Your interface may look a little different than mine, and that's okay. My crosshairs go all the way across my screen. Yours might be shortened. That's okay as well. And as I said before, it looks a lot like Autodesk Inventor, right? So you have your ribbon across the top here. You have your drawing environment. You have your X, Y plane. You have your view cube over here with the little house. Some very similar things to regular or to Inventor that you've already learned. Down here, you also have some other commands down at the bottom. We'll get into what those do. You should be in the Model tab, not the Layout tabs. So you always want to make sure that you're in the Layout tab. Um, and that's pretty well it. It functions very much like Inventor. So if you want to zoom in and out, you can zoom in and out by turning your mouse wheel in and out. If you want to pan, you can push down on the mouse wheel and you can pan left and right. If you want to do a 3D pan or a 3D rotate, I should say, you hold shift, push on your mouse wheel, and then you can do a 3D rotate. And then you end up in a 3D view. So just like Inventor, AutoCAD does have a 3D feature, but for the most part, we're going to use it for 2D drawing only. So you click on the top view and you'll be back in the regular view for AutoCAD. Because AutoCAD is a standalone product, it's not cloud based, so you have to save your work. So once you have uh, your first drawing started, what I want you to do is you're going to go up to the big A in the corner. You're going to click on that little drop down um, arrow again. You're going to go save as. Don't go over here into all of these items. Just click on the blue area where it says save as. Don't go over here to these different options. So just click save as once. It's going to bring up this pop-up menu. Now, previously, we have created a folder with your last name and the word Autodesk. So double click on that. And then what I want you to do is I want you to create an AutoCAD subfolder underneath that initial folder that you created. So the way you create the subfolder is you right click, new folder, and I want you to call it AutoCAD like I have up here. Okay. So once you've created the AutoCAD folder, double click on that. And then I want you to save your drawing as your last name. underscore, and we're going to work on the jig block. So we're going to work on, sorry, the support bracket. We're going to work on this support bracket here. So what I want you to do is I want you to save it as your last name underscore support bracket. Okay. And click save. There you go. So now I've saved my first drawing, and you can see that I've saved it up here. It's been renamed on the tab here, so that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So if I go back to the support bracket drawing, and I'm looking at the support bracket that's sitting here, and you have previous versions, but I'll post this again in Hapera for your reference. Um, the front view, we're going to do the three orthographic views. So the three orthographic views, the front view, the top view, and the right side view. So from the front, we're looking at it this direction. From the top, we're looking at it this direction. And from the side, we're looking at it from this direction. Okay. So I go back into AutoCAD, and there's some commands that I need to do right off the bat. And some of these commands, so the beautiful thing about AutoCAD is that you can type your commands right into the keyboard. So the first command I want to use is units. So to set your units for your drawing, you type units on the keyboard. Don't have to click anywhere, just type units, UNITS, and then hit enter. Now you can access the units uh, drop down menu. There's one, it's up here somewhere. I actually don't know where it is. You may be able to find it. Might be under manage. I don't really use a lot of the drop down menus. I end up typing commands into my keyboard, or I use shortcut keys. So the units one is one that I don't actually ever use. So I just type units on the keyboard. I've always done that. I've always done it from like forever. So I'm going to go back to home over here, and I'm going to type units again, and I hit enter. So units, this pop-up menu comes up. I want to make sure that I'm in decimal, right? So length is decimal, and then precision, I want to reduce it to 2 decimal places. I want to make sure that it says millimeters here, and everything else should be okay. Once I have decimal, two, uh, two, two decimal places, and millimeters, I just click OK. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to set the size of my drawing area. So AutoCAD has an infinite drawing size. You can draw anything from, a tiny little piece of like pin, or you can draw something that is as large as an entire city in AutoCAD. Because the coordinate system, remember the X, Y that we've talked about, is infinite in AutoCAD. Okay. So I want to set the size of my drawing area. So I'm going to type again on the keyboard, limits, LIMTS, and you'll see that it pops up on the screen there. Don't click on it. I just hit enter, and it's going to ask you, and you can see whenever it's asking you for information, it's telling you what it wants. And it says reset model space limits, specify lower left corner or. So the lower left corner is always the 0, 0 point. And if you remember from math, whenever you put in a coordinate, it's 0, comma, and or it's always a number, comma, another number. So in this case, it's going to be 0, comma, 0. Okay. And then hit enter. And then it's going to say specify upper right. So what we're doing is we set the lower left corner down here to 0, 0. We're going to set the upper right corner to 10,000, comma 10,000. So I'm going to type in 10, 1, 2, 3, comma, 10, 1, 2, 3, comma, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now it's set. Now what I want to do is I want to take my screen and I want to zoom it out to so I can see that entire area. So I'm going to type Z on the keyboard for zoom. So Z, enter, and then I'm going to type A for all. So I hit zoom and it gives you all these options down here. Now you can actually click on these now. You couldn't do this 5 years ago. You had to type it in manually. Uh, so you can click on all and then you'll notice that your screen changes and it zooms out. Another way of doing this is, if I move myself over here, is over here there's some zooming commands, right? So if I click on this little down arrow right here, um, sorry, that's not the correct one. Don't use this often. Let's see if we can find it. Click on that little, oh, there we go. So if you click on that little down arrow and you go zoom all, that's the command you're looking for. So again, this little down arrow right here, and then zoom all. And that'll zoom it out to your limits. Now you're ready to start drawing. So if I go back to my support bracket, the square or the rectangle that makes up the front view is 70 by, add these two numbers together, you get 30. So 70 by 30, and it makes a rectangle. So I'm going to draw the basic rectangle that makes the front view in AutoCAD. So 70 by 30. And of course, that's millimeters, right? So, like Inventor, there are shapes for drawing. So there's lines, polylines, circles, arcs, and there's a few other ones here like rectangle and ellipse, I think. If you want to see them all, you just click on the little down arrow next to draw, and it starts to give you kind of all the options. For those of you that use spline, there's spline as well. In my case, I'm just going to use a standard line. So I click on the line command, and it asks you, specify the first point. It doesn't really matter where I start drawing. I'm going to start somewhere down here, and I'm going to click once. And you're going to notice I can drag. Now I'm not holding my mouse button down. I clicked once, and I can drag out my line. Now I can put it at any angle I want it to be, right? But I want it to be straight. So how do I draw straight lines in AutoCAD? If I go to the top of my keyboard, you'll see the F keys. If you hit F8, it will turn ortho, and you can kind of see it right there on my cursor. It changed to ortho. And what ortho does is it allows you to only draw straight lines, right, in one direction or the other. I can't draw an angled line when ortho is on. Now you can, but there's tricks to doing that, and that's a whole other lesson. Okay, so I want to draw a line in this direction, 70 millimeters. How do I do that? Well, I point in this direction, generally in that direction, and I type in on the keyboard 70, and I hit enter. And you'll notice that it drew a little line. Now I'm zoomed way out, so you notice it drew a little line. Now I want to do the rectangle, so it's 70 this way, 30 this way, right? And then 70 back this way. Now this is getting hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wheel with my mouse. So I'm going to move my mouse wheel and then I'm going to pan it over. So now you can see it better. So I went over 70, up 30. I'm going to go back this way 70. And then I want to close my box. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I can just come down and I can click on there and you notice how it snaps. See how it says endpoint? It's snapping to the endpoint of that line. The other thing is I could just point in this direction and type in the number 30 and it would go down. Or the third option is if I type C on the keyboard and I hit enter, C stands for close. So it knows that you've drawn a box And if you type C, it knows to close that box automatically. So I type C and it closes the box. So there we go. And it ends my drawing command. You notice I'm not in the line command anymore. Okay. So there's my basic box. Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to pan down. And what I want to do is I want to draw the rough uh, view of the top, or the rough top view. So again, it's going to be a box. If I go back to my instructions here, it's going to be 70 across this way and 45 back. So if I go back to AutoCAD, what I want to do is I'm going to take a line. Now, so that I can get my views completely lined up, I'm going to actually draw a line right off the corner here of the first front view, and I'm going to draw up. And I'm going to draw up, I don't know, uh, any random distance, really. So I'm going to say that far. Okay. Now I'm going to go in this direction, and I'm going to type 70. And then I'm going to go down this way, and I'm going to type 45. And then I'm going to go back this way, and I'm going to type 70. Now I'm still in the line command and I don't want to be because I've already created that box, right? So I used a projection line to draw straight up. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape, or in Inventor how you could right click. So you could go right click and you can select enter, or you can hit escape on the keyboard, the uh, ESC key. So I'm just going to hit enter and it gets me out of the command. So I have my front view down here, my top view up here, but I have this silly line connecting the two, and I want to get rid of that line. So what I need to do is I need to trim this line back. So there's a command for trim. It's this one right here, right? So you can click on the icon for trim, and if you hover over any of the keys, it tells you exactly how to use it. Okay, so there's trim. The other thing you could do is type on your keyboard TR, and it comes up as trim. Okay, so there's the button, there's TR on the keyboard, and there's a third way to enter it. Now, can I remember it off the top of my head? Unfortunately, I can't. I think it's in the drop-down menus up here. Excuse me. Anyway, we'll use the trim command right here. And it's asking me, select trim, select objects, or select all. So the select objects, I want to select my cutting edge. This is going to be my cutting edge because I'm going to bring that line back to here. So here's my cutting edge. And it says select objects or to trim. So I want to get rid of this piece of line in here. Now it should trim. Okay. Now once I've selected all my, sorry, I should have hit enter when I selected my cutting edge. So select the cutting edge, hit enter, and then pick the piece of line that you want to get rid of, and it goes away. And then to get out of the command, you can hit escape, or you can go right click and enter. Okay. You can also hit the space bar on the keyboard. That will get you out of the command. There's a bunch of different ways. So if I want to bring that back, say I made a mistake, I can type U on the keyboard for undo and hit enter, or I can hit Control Z. That does undo as well. So some pretty standard Windows style commands. So let's try trim again. I'll do this one more time. So you select trim, and the cutting edge I want to select is, it says actually right there, select objects or select all. Anyway, you want to select the cutting edge. I want to trim this line back to here. So that's my cutting edge. I hit enter, and then I pick the piece of line I want to get rid of. Okay. So there's my front and my top view. And then I'm going to hit escape to get out of the command. To get the right side view, I'm going to draw the right side view over here. So to draw the right side view of this is 45 by 30. Okay. So I go back to AutoCAD, and I'm going to use the line command again. And I'm going to go off of here, and I'm going to go over this way. And I know that it's 30 down, so I'm going to go 30 down. I'm going to go back this way, 45. And I'm going to go up 30 this way. And there you have it. There's my box. And now I can either go right click, or I can hit escape, or I can just hit the space bar and it'll get out of the command. Okay. Now I need to get rid of this piece of line here again. So I'm going to use trim. I'm going to click on this as my cutting edge. I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard, and then I'm going to click the piece of line I want to get rid of. So there you go. And then I hit the space bar, or I right click and go enter. Both work. Okay, so now I have the rough layout for my 3 orthographic views: my front, my top, and my right side. I hope this helps. I'm going to do a quick file save because I already saved it once. I'm going to do a quick file save. I'm going to wait for it to think, and you want to make sure that it says saved right here, and we are good to go. So that's the end of this tutorial. I'm going to do another one on the next steps of how to add detail to your 3 views, but this is going to be the end of this tutorial. Hope it helps, and if you have questions, please ask.